So we've been getting some requests for us to build out some of our Great Plains bows on video. We've been doing a lot of the cheap Amazon bows, and we're going to do some of the Great Plains bows. So I thought this would be a good opportunity. This is a ASL Hill Style Longbow at 64 inches. This is what the bows look like whenever I take them. When my job starts, Nick gets them to this stage. That's his responsibility. He does all the glue up, tips and overlays on, and then I take them from this here, right here, and I build them out. So we're going to do a quick build out on this Hill Style Cocobolo riser, beautiful cedar veneers, and buffalo tips and overlays. Also, it has a bamboo core, which in my opinion, bamboo is the very best core that a bow can have. So follow along, and we're going to do a quick build out on this Hill Style bow. We'll start with the tips. Clamp that in there good. This is really simple. All I got to do is file this. I got to just be careful that I don't dig a hole here. I'm going to take off the glue residue back here and flatten this out. And then I just got to put a slight radius with the file. It doesn't take much, because I'm going to come in with a pneumatic sleeve directly after this and clean up the scratches and do the rest of the shaping. Just don't want to take too much off. Take out these scratches first, feather up on the limb. So when I'm feeling this, I got a nice amount of glass thickness. I can feel a slight hole there, so I'll come back here, just beyond that hole, and I'll float that in. Okay, so that's perfect. Run my Dremel down. This is just a landmark right now. The final depth will be set later. That's all I need. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, we're over here at the mill. I'm going to go ahead and put my side string grooves in, right here and right here. And I start my mill, drop it down, line it up, about right there, and then come in. Deep enough to come across, drop it down. And then here. And I'll hold it up and see if we're symmetrical, and we're not quite. We need to take just a hair off of there yet. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'll look at the back side of it, and we're just a little thick. It's symmetrical, but it's just a hair thick. Okay, that looks real good. Last thing we do on this is we just take this and make this so and this is so that when you set, if your bow tip touches the ground on the back, on the belly side, it doesn't break that off. You want a nice area. Some people like to rest their bows on their shoe or something, so we want that so that you can do that with that. We'll round this over at a later date, but that's all we do. Okay. All right, here we are back at my vise, and we're going to go ahead and shape these tips completely out and finish them. So we'll start on the belly side. We'll run our rat tail file in here. The big thing here, got to be real careful that we don't hit this corner and blow that glass up over there and cause a delam, which if it's very, very mild, we can fix it. But if it's too bad, of course, you know what happens. Make these symmetrical, so I'm also watching this gap as I come in. I don't want to narrow that up to where it looks weird, but also I don't want to get so close that it actually connects. That would be very bad. I don't use a super sharp file. It caught that edge just a little bit, and that's fine. We'll fix that here. But that's what I'm talking about, that little do. And that is just, I mean, that's like 130 seconds. That's just the very, very top layer of glass, which can easily be sanded off. But I'll show you what we do just to show you how we fix it if it does catch on there. So now I'm looking at the depth of these, and I can see I need to go a little deeper on that one. Gotta clean out the debris. That's not, normally I wouldn't even do anything with that because it's so surface that you can sand it out of there and still have your full thickness of glass. But just to show you how we do it, we take this ultra fine little tip and thin CA, and boom, it's gone. So then if I want to work with it right away, put some accelerator on it, and it's dry. So I'll clean up that. I wouldn't have to do this with a file, I could do it with sandpaper, but one last look. They're perfectly level, they're perfectly straight, symmetrical. That step's done. Grab my half round, and we're going to shape this now. Well, I want to leave this just a little bigger than I want it finished, because when I come in with sandpaper, I can do the final shaping. So I'll make this pleasing to the eye, but also functional, so it's low profile and streamlined. It doesn't catch on anything, but also so it looks great. Looking really nice. Maybe just a skosh right here. The skosh a word? It's a Shane word, I guess, now. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to get to 120. Use a fairly thin, not the ultra thin profile of this here sanding block, but kind of the medium one, because we want to be wide enough to get the full inside area of these string grooves. So I'll come in here. Basically what I'm doing is sanding out the scratches, but while I'm doing it, of course, I'm shaping, constantly shaping. We are on the back side of the bow, or you could call it the top side of the tip. This one here, naturally, the horn naturally had an indentation there. I didn't carve this all the way out. Normally I don't carve it quite that far out, but this is the way this one looks because of the natural horn variegation. So I come in here and I just ease that sharp corner, the rat tail, and I don't go any deeper because it's plenty deep enough. We don't need to go any deeper. We've got FR4 underneath this horn, so there's plenty of strength down in there. So I'm just looking down here. I'm just looking straight down, making sure they're the same depth, and they are. Okay, so that's all that with the rat tail. Then I'll come in here and just clean this up where it meets there. And this one, because it looks a little strange because of the natural way of the horn, I'm going to do a little extra file work here just to make it, well, actually that looks pretty. That's just the way the horn is on this one. So, natural products always look best if left in their natural state. So, okay, go ahead and clean this up. Now while we do this, we're going to radius this here shoulder, the tip shoulder, where the string goes against. We want that nice and smooth. Take out all the file marks. I want to leave as much of the natural horn bark on this bow as I possibly can, but I also want to make the tip high performance and highly functional, so we can't leave anything sharp that could potentially harm or cut a string. So good. Last thing I'm going to do with the 120 paper is, you can see right now it looks a little out of proportion because these are plenty big and then you've got a skinny tip. So we're going to take these edges off and it'll come into proportion a lot better and look more streamlined. going to get pretty aggressive on this because this is going to help it look more like a bow tip. Now we'll finish this up with 120, or 220, sorry. Finish up with 220, and then I'll show you what this thing looks. This shouldn't take very long at all. I'm just going to go around just like I did, keeping in mind that this is the last time sandpaper will touch this before the finish goes on. So all the scratches have to be out. Has to look like I want it to look. The last thing I do is sometimes this right here is just a little sharp because my rubber sanding blocks don't form around that. So what I do is I just take a piece of hand sandpaper and I just, because I don't want that to be a sharp point. Not only can it chip or break, but I want it to be, you know, you could rest that on the shoe of your hiking boot when you're hunting, or I want that to be nice and round so there's no edge for anything to grab and then potentially chip that tip. Okay, we got to find the center real quick. So I'm just going to guess here. There's a faint line and it could be that line, but I'm going to go 32 7/8. Okay, no, that was not the center. So it's just a little bit higher than that. So it's right there is the center line. And I'm going to go an inch above it. And that is my center right there. So we'll go ahead and square that off. Right there. That's my shelf. You can tell this is the top limb because I've got a longer fade out than the bottom limb on my hills. Landmarks are so very important in bow building. Even though if you built thousands of them, you know how to do it by heart, but still, you don't want to screw up. So you got to do it the way you've always done it, or you'll make mistakes. So we're going to make a mark here for the approximate shelf right there. And now we need to make a center line. However, because this is horn, and we don't want to have to clean ink pen off the horn, we got to measure down and put our center line in a place that it can go underneath the buckskin grip. A lot of it comes off, but we don't want any residue whatsoever. So if we go to right here, we'll be safe. So now we'll measure over 1 3/8, half of that's 11/16. Come down here, get another 11/16. Then we will get us a straight edge. This will work. And we're going to draw our center line. Now the center line is mainly for carving the riser, the grip and everything. I use it for that, but I also use it right here. Now I'm going to go really light right here because this will stay on. So that's all I need for a center line. I was unsure whether this was supposed to be a dished or straight or contoured like I make heel styles, which people say they aren't real heel styles, but really that has no bearing because even on the modern heels everything's changed. But he wanted the contour grip with the indexer, so that's what we're doing here. And what I do is I measure 2 inches up to the heel. That's my starting point. They end up a little smaller than that for comfort, but that's where you start so you don't make a mistake. And then we go ahead and draw it out. Every little bit helps. Now we'll cut the shelf. This one does not have a shelf cut into it. Normally they do, but we weren't sure whether it's going to be right or left. Okay, that'll work. Okay. Okay, now we're going to come in here, make the deep point the throat of the grip. That will give us reference when we go ahead and shape the shelf. A little bit more. Whoa, that kind of went down on me. Okay, that'll work. That's good. On the deep point of a properly shaped longbow, you have a nice overhang here because this protects your thumb muscle. Some people have a real big thumb muscle. I don't have that huge a one, but if that sticks up over, you can cut yourself with the fletching of the arrow. So you got to have a little overhang, and of course this is going to get cut off yet a little bit because we're going to radius this. So, but that is very important on a properly shaped handle. So we're going to take this off so we can see what we're doing for the next step. Over here, we're going to start by shaping the sight window. Oh yeah, you looking for birds? Yeah. Coming along. That'll work. We've got the high point sitting about right there. And I start with a real sharp one. The Nicholson rat tail files are the best. They come the sharpest, but the 1/4 inch rat tails are a little bit smaller diameter. They're probably actually a true quarter. No, they're under. That makes sense. So they're actually undersized. So then I have to finish it off with a bigger rat tail that you can buy from the big box stores. Well, you can get Nicholson from some of those too, but this one I had to order. But these are sharp. So I get it started with the sharp Nicholson, and then once we have our groove in there, our inside radius, we'll switch over to this one, which is a little bigger, which is the radius I want for the finish. And this one here, that's a true quarter. So once I've got that, I'll come in here with my half round. And this is a sharp file, but Cocobolo is sort of an oily wood, so it wants to plug the file up pretty quick. I just want this all smooth and beautiful, that line all the way up. And here I don't want to plane this flat coming into here. I want this on an angle. Okay, that's good. Nope. Okay, we're gonna go with 120 to start with. And I'm gonna go with my bigger radius here on my sending block because I want to get that inside radius on this shelf perfect. I don't want to dig a sharp hole down in there. Okay, rest can be done with random orbit, 120 paper. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Okay, there we go. We got our shelf and side plate. You can see our high point's about right here. So that's where we want it. And let's just go ahead and measure this. This is 1.5 inch glass. We've got right at a 3/4 inch there. Probably hard to see on camera, but that's okay. You got to kind of line it up to see it, but so it's cut to center but not past, and still plenty of material there. So we are ready to carve this handle. So let's take her over to the bearing center and get it carved. Start by making my layout lines. Just create a series of cuts where I know they need to be. Not too deep to get me started. And I measure this a little bit deeper. So I look at them, see how deep I need to go. A little bit deeper with this one. Now what I do is I take my hand, put it on here, and the second cut, I want that to fall right here. This is where the palm swell is, but I want that second cut to fall right there. So it's going to be right there. So I'll come in here. And this one doesn't go as deep. So just about that big. Go straight across from it. And do another one. Carving handles is very easy as long as you follow your steps and make sure every single bow is done correctly. So once I have that, I'll float these together. I love that kind of purple and orange in here. It's really beautiful. Now I haven't taken just a lot of material off this bow yet, but I've established the main shape. And now when I deepen everything is in its place, so I can't make a mistake. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of this dip here. So it's about right here, and I'm going to go in right there, and I'm going to go in right here on the deep part of there. About like that. Make these the same. I'm going to flip it over. Go straight across from that one in. Like that. Straight across from that one and in. Okay. So that looks really good. Once I have that done, I'll come up here, and then I'm going to round this. So I've got that real nice and pretty. Now I want this here imaginary line straight across from this point. So this is going to be a beautiful little radius in here. So I don't normally draw this, but just for the camera's sake, I'll put that across from there, and then I'll run this on up to that line. Like that right there. Now I'm going to leave that for now, and I'll flip it over and do the bow. First thing I'm going to do before I do this, I do this all the way around. So we'll start with the shelf, and we're going to form the radius of the outside edge of the shelf. Now I'm going to put it in my hand and feel it. So this all feels amazing. Now you can see there's some sharp lines. That doesn't matter. That'll get taken out in the next step. So it actually feels really good. I really like these corrugations on this buffalo. Gives you a lot of grip right there. I think I'm just going to narrow this up a teeny tiny bit. Not very much, because I like the way it feels. Just a little bit. I'm going to look at that, and I need to narrow up this side. I noticed while I was doing this, you can see I have this a longer fade right here, so I need to do that to this side, because right now it's out of proportion. So I'll fade this out a little bit more. Okay, so that handle is carved. Next step, we'll take it over to the pneumatics and we'll hit it with 80 grit to smooth it out. So we're just gonna go over everything. We've already established our layout, our landmarks. We're just gonna go over everything because we've already got our shape. We're just cleaning out the deep scratches. Now I can see this overhang is a little bit too long, this right here. So I just, while I was talking, I trimmed it up. Now I'm looking down at this limb while I'm doing that, and I'm squaring this here with this limb because that makes it look good. That looks professional. If you leave it all cockeyed, it doesn't look good. Okay, this is kind of funny. Because I was doing so much talking and I was so concerned about the handle, I forgot one of the steps that we do to Great Plains bows. Real quick, won't take nothing. We'll go back over to the bearing. On Great Plains bows, we put a little bevel here, and it's just the style and the trademark. Has nothing to do with performance, but it looks good. And it has to be a certain depth. Can't be too stubby. It's got to be about right. Okay, that's perfect for a roughed in one. So when it's finished, this edge right here needs to be fairly sharp. So there's a delineation, I don't know how to say that word, but so you can see it when it's finished. Okay, so now we're going to clean that up. That little mark. Now we've got to be pretty careful here because we don't want to clean that up too much because we'll finish that with a random orbit later, but that looks really good. Okay, now I'm going to just check this over. You know, I've got just a little divot right here. That's actually wood grain. It looks like a hole, but it's not. But that is a very beautiful handle, carved. Very, very comfortable. It indexes, it feels really great. You got a nice amount of material up above the webbing to protect you from the arrow. So I'm very, very happy with that. Now, all right, so I'm going to pull this tape, and this is going to be pretty. So come over here. And you're going to see this beautiful eastern red cedar come forth. I love that cream in there. Cream color and the red is so beautiful. Ooh, that's pretty. We got to see what this thing's sitting at. Hopefully it's not too heavy, but we want it to be a certain heaviness because then if it's too light, we can't put a very good trap on it, and a Hill Style benefits tremendously much from a trap. It smooths the bow up. We're gonna throw the string on it here. The moment of truth. It feels good. It feels about right. I've said that before though. Put a brace on it. Yeah, that'll work for now. I always take a look at it and look at the tiller. So I always like to guess. And so what I'm gonna guess, this thing has slight reverse tiller. It's nearly straight, but reverse tiller means that there's gonna be a bigger gap on the bottom limb than the top. Let me look at that. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna go with even on this one. It's about even. We'll see. Okay, so we'll make a little mark here. Quickly check the tiller at 22 inches. That string is pretty bad. It's fraying pretty good. I hope. I'm gonna have to get a new string. Okay. 7 15/16. Well, that thing is tillered perfectly right now. So it's not even, it's actually tillered perfectly. That does happen with Hill Styles out of the form we have quite a bit for some reason. Okay, now let's check the straightness. Wow, that cedar's gorgeous. Bottom limb is perfectly straight. Top limb is perfectly straight. So let's check the weight. Oh, that's lovely. So the customer wanted 42 to 45 pounds. At 55 pounds, we have just the perfect amount to put a nice trap on it, and it'll drop it down right into what we want it to be. Because I want a trap on it. Okay, so we're ready. We're ready to trap it, but before I do, I want to draw it. Oh, it's smooth. And that's a 55-pound bow now. It's very smooth. All right, we're gonna trap this limb now. Here we go. We got to be really careful on this to keep it moving, because this, if I stop for a fraction of a second, I'll have an 1/8-inch hole. I don't think I lost a full 5 pounds there. Hopefully I did, but actually I don't really care either way because I've got plenty of material left. The bow is tuning out just beautifully. Let's check the weight. It's perfect. What I'm going to do now is, because I know he wants it maximum 45 pounds, to make this bow just a little bit smoother, I'm going to take a little bit of the glass off of the belly, because all this glass, this compression, relieving that compression will make a Hill Style bow a little bit smoother. So we're going to switch paper, and we're going to take a little bit off there, which will drop us down to about 45 before edge sanding. And then when we edge sand, it will be just under 45, which is perfect. Okay, so we're going to take this off of the belly here now. We're going to be pretty careful because we don't have a very wide surface, so we have to make sure we lift and engage very smoothly. What I do is I just barely touch down to make sure I'm square, and then I go. I'm going to do 3 strokes, that's it. Okay, now we're going to clean those scratches off, but we're going to do 5 to get those scratches off there. Just under 45 pounds, that is absolutely perfect. By the time we edge sand, it'll drop it just a hair more. He said 42 to 45 pounds, so 44 is going to be lovely. Now let's go shoot it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That is lovely. That's good. Good stuff. So it's got a little bit of vibration on the string. That'll be taken out completely with some cat whiskers. But the feel of it for an ASL is just beautiful. Basically, I'm really sensitive to hand shock, so I'm not going to say it doesn't have any, but I'm going to say it this way. For an ASL, the hand shock is incredible. For an ASL, it basically has no hand shock. That's lovely. I love it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and finish this bow up now. And we're going to start with the overlays. We don't have very much time, so I'm going to move pretty quick here. I'm going to start with the overlays. And once again, it's just like the tips. You just got to get a little form started. And then I'll finish that. On this one, I can use a random orbit because I got a quite a place, but that's a perfect radius. And I'll do this side. They don't need that much. Okay, so that's a nice shape. Got to take the random orbit scratches out with 220, the little circular scratches. All right, so we just edge sanded this bow. I strung it up quick, and we're gonna check the final tune on it. Make sure it stayed good. Check the weight. Loki's looking for birds like always. Good boy. Good boy, Loki. Okay. 44 pounds, so that's perfect. It's what we want. Now we will check the straightness. On a longbow, edge sanding is basically not going to change the straightness, but it will on a recurve sometimes. I'll just check it just for the fun of it, and it's perfectly straight. Let's check the tiller. Check that, so just under 8 1/4. Okay, tiller is perfect. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, that's done. Now remember when I was drawing this line, I didn't want to get it down here. See where you can see where I drew it there, I took that out, so I don't have to worry about it. Right here, there's a chance this might be able to be seen, so we do have to take that little guy off. The final step before the medallion is just to go over everything with a hand piece of sandpaper and make sure we didn't miss anything. It doesn't take much time at all. So we grab a nice sharp piece. And the first place I start, you can see that's real sharp there. We don't want that sharp, so we're just gonna come in there and ease that on up. Now, what makes a bow look high quality and great is if these lines aren't sanded to the point where they mush in. You want a little bit of line there just to see it, but we also don't want a sharp line. So some of this is just having a sense of proportion to get it right, and then this also, we don't want that sharp. The main reason we don't want that sharp is because that can catch on something, and it just make sure there's nothing sharp. And I look for defects also. Make sure that this here glass coming up onto the riser looks real good, and it does. And then I just fill this. Everything feels really nice. Okay, and then the last thing, that little itty bitty line, there's a chance that the leather might not cover that, so we're just gonna take that off.